one, the hacker weight. Here are the two mufflers that were on the Sabre. This one is still in one piece. This one, I cut the bottom off so I had access to the baffle inside, and then I drilled out the spot weld and I was able to remove the baffle. What this baffle does is allow the exhaust gases to come in through these holes right here on this end of the baffle. So they're coming from the engine, they come up through here, and they can go through here. The pressure waves and sound waves go up into this chamber, and then they reflect off from this reverse cone that's in the end here. And so some of those can bounce back and cancel out other waveforms, and actually the two of the waveforms working as a push-pull kind of a thing on a tuned system like this will actually help with the exhaust flow. But this is really, this is dialed in, tuned, and engineered. I can't really do that the way that Honda did it and the engineers did it, but I can look at this and say, well, if this is for one cylinder, and I now have a 4-into-1 setup where basically, well, we had two mufflers, right? So if I just multiply everything by 2 and scale it up, doesn't that kind of make sense that it would probably be okay and work? Probably so. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use maybe some parts from this, but I've got a piece of 1 3/8" tubing that I'll use for this portion. It's going to end up being about 18 inches long, and this section right here will be a 2.5-inch muffler pipe piece that will go over it. And here's the cool part. Inside here, inside this baffle, there are holes drilled in this chamber right here, so it allows some of those sound waves to go inside this resonant chamber and be stifled somewhat, muffled so to speak, and the gases can still flow straight through because it's a straight through design. So inside here, I don't know if there's any packing material in there, like fiberglass or not. I guess I could drill a hole in there and do a little exploratory surgery, find out. But what I'm going to do basically is cut all this off. I can use this end, it's about the same diameter as my megaphone on the Honda now, and weld it up and build up this whole new baffle, drill the holes where I need to and everything, and set up a standoff on the forward part with holes in it where everything can come through and resonate back, and we'll see how it works out. It might just do the trick. Wow, almost knocked you over there. There we go. Everything on the bed is migrating towards me. You really need a different place to do things like this. Oh yeah, definitely some sound deadening material going on there. Looks to me like it's just fiberglass packed in real dense like. Well, we'll just duplicate that in the one that we are about to build. This is the through pipe inside the baffle. You can see all the holes drilled in there. I need to duplicate that same thing on my 1.25" pipe that I will put in here. And these are about 1/8 of an inch in diameter, so I'll probably drill like 3/16, 1/4 inch, something like that. God, the English system's goofy with its fractions. Well, here's the plan, man. This is something I drew up, and it's pretty much a scaled up version of the baffle. This portion right here would be the megaphone that I have to work with right now. It's to scale, so to speak. This is the new baffle that I'll build, and that's more or less duplicating what was going on with the single one, just kind of scaling it up a bit for a little more flow. So this pipe right here that I need to cut now out of the 1¼ inch piece needs to be 19 inches long. That'll be our starting point. 19 inches. Now I need to figure out where the holes go. So let's refer to the drawing. 2 inches from the end is where that section will start. Right there. And it is 9½ inches long. So we go to right here. And within these boundaries is where we want to drill a bajillion holes. All marked out, ready for some holes, but how do we know where to space them this way, and how are we going to keep this all nice and neat? Well, we'll use a drill press vise, and a little ingenuity. We still got a long way to go. I changed up the pattern. I got tired of going around in circles, so I'm just doing rows now. Stagger them apart. It's actually easier. Hitting the inside of it here with a file seems to be helping a lot. Getting all those little burrs off. Up here in the front, I'm going to do a reverse cone. Where it fits into the pipe up here. There's got to be a guide, like here or here. I can move it wherever I like. Probably something about like this, where it's just something like that, where it holds this whole piece located into the front, but sealed off in this case. So then at this point, this whole chamber here just becomes nothing more than a bit of a slight resonator for whatever sound waves can make their way through the holes, the fiberglass, and the sheet metal of a 2½ inch piece of muffler pipe. And then the rest of the sound waves come out the back. So this cone, I need a cone up front here, you know, roughly 45 degrees, and I'm playing around with thinking, how am I going to make a template? So as it turns out, an 11-inch piece of paper. Let's tape this together here. Okay. Fold this in half on itself, and then fold the tape over and join that seam. It's a cone. So if I want to kind of lock that in place, I could take a tape, roll of tape, something round that's rigid, and just set it in there, kind of balance it, get it level. This is what I call 3D geometry. You know, it's how to figure this stuff out without the math. My head knows what has to be done, but I don't know the formulas or how to apply them. But I do know this works. So you put that in there, and then you can mark just along the outside. You can see the shadow of it. You can mark that out, cut that out. There's a template for your size of your cone. So ahead of time you can make a circle out of a piece of cardboard, something else, which I'm about to do in a minute, of the internal diameter of the forward part of that pipe, which was 2.88 inches. So I'll cut a 2.88 inch circle, drop it in there, and trace it out. These are printed out from a drawing program, Adobe Illustrator, actually, an ancient version of it, and I spec'd them in and measured them when I was done, and they are exact. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Nice pair I've got there with the computer and printer. They work perfect to do stuff like this. So this is the same diameter as that pipe I drilled, 1 3/8 or 1.37 inches. This is the internal diameter of the forward section of the new megaphone pipe that's on the bike. Where is it? So, no, wait, no. About there, looks good. So let's see if I can maybe just do this. Okay, so there's my pattern. I'm just leaving an extra probably 3/8 of an inch, 10 millimeters around the outside of this. Stay right on the edge of the paper. Nice, clean, definitive line, baby. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Let's just get this out of the way first. Yeah, I know these are yellow scissors. They're for cutting straight lines. I don't have the red and green ones here. Let's just see what we can do with a piece of pipe and some creative bending by hand to get started here. Seaming pliers. Time to get those out because they can get in there tighter. I grew up with this hammer, no kidding. It was in my dad's toolbox, one of the things that I ended up with. Wasn't a lot in that toolbox. That's a lot of what made me the tinkerer, inventor, do it with what you got person that I am. So in a way, I can thank my dad for not having enough tools to do stuff the right way. As funny as that sounds, it makes you an innovator. You know, another idea just sprang to life here. I cut this off with the hacksaw reasonably close to the 1 3/8 and then just use the grinder and keep taking a little more off until that 1 3/8 pipe will go through there. But for starters, I'm just gonna cut this off by hand. Close. Pretty close here. I think I can just tap it on. And then it's going to get pounded a little bit rounder in 1 or 2 spots. There we go. There's the reverse cone. Here's the old baffle. I'm going to save myself some work. This front piece I already know fits in the pipe just fine. So rather than go through all of the time it's going to take to fabricate this cone and bend it and get it to fit perfect and pull it out, put it back in, do all that stuff, I'll just cut this off. And I can put that on here before the end of the cone. And it will mate up with the pipe, seal that, and it'll also give me the exact diameter of the inside of that other pipe. And I can put the cone on afterwards. Work smarter, not harder. So I've got to grind away 2 welds here to get this off. There we go. Should slide right over that pipe. Should be the same size. Yeah, it's pretty darn close. So I could probably just pound it on there. So next step. Let's see, the next thing we need to do is weld this onto the end of the muffler. Let's get some oil on it. It'll help a little bit. It'll smoke a lot, but that's just the oil. And there it went. It caught because it's probably starting to come through. Okay.
All right, well, I'm almost through, so maybe I can finish it off the rest of the way with a grinder and a file.
I can probably just punch this through. Oh yeah, there it goes. There we go.
After a bit of grinding and filing, it fits. I'm gonna cut a little of this lip off now because I need to go down in the diameter from what I thought I wanted to begin with, so I can fit it on the end of the baffle and it will slide into the other pipe. I think what I'll do with this is grind it, I'll weld it right here and then grind this off, maybe give it a couple spots and then just grind it to where this will slide into the muffler easily.
By the way, something cool about this pipe that came off from the stock Honda muffler, this is the aftermarket Mac pipe that I bought. Look at this, it just slides right in there. It's the same diameter, which I would put in the category of totally badass. I think Ichiban Moto would agree.
Got to make the end cap now for the muffler section. So I've got to cut out a piece that's 2.5 inches in diameter on the outside, and then it needs a 1 3/8 hole in it. I'm hoping my hole saw here with the guide of a 1/4 inch hole through here, which it has a drill bit in the middle, that's what guides it. And then going into the wood, it should hold it steady enough and punch the hole through okay. Get a little bit of oil just on the surface and a little bit on the hole saw. Let's have at it. There we go. This piece is 14 gauge steel. I tried to cut it with the tin shears and it's pretty tough, so I get out the jigsaw with a metal cutting blade and make some noise. There we go. So there's all the pieces. They just need to go together now. There's the end cap. The end cap for the muffler section, which will slide onto here, and the reverse cone. I need to put fiberglass around here now, wrap it up as thick as I can to fill up the gap between that pipe and this pipe. And when I wrap it around here, I think I'll hold it in place with some really thin wire that I have. I think I have some stainless steel wire. Wrap it around there to keep it in place so that I can slide this onto it and the fiberglass won't just bunch up and shift around. After a trip to the hardware store, I picked up a bag of, what do they call this? They call this just a multi-purpose roll. It's just fiberglass insulation. And it's in a layer that I can peel off and work with. So I think what I'll do is wrap this first with this and really compress the hell out of it. Get as much out of I can as that, and then wrap it in fiberglass cloth, a couple of layers really tight. Maybe do some more of this, kind of layer it up and hold it in place with some stainless steel wire, and then get it all to the diameter where that tube will slide over it without, you know, shredding it to pieces. Too bad. It's probably going to catch a little bit, but let's get started wrapping this in fiberglass. Try to keep the pine needles out of there. Let's just see where we're at here so far with that wrap. Boy, that's pretty close. I'm almost sold on leaving it like that. So it slides right in there pretty easy. Maybe I'll try one more layer. Maybe we can get it tight enough. Let's crank this down with the wire. See if we can get it in there. Whew. This is turning into something too much like work. Uh-oh, I'm bleeding. Here it is. Look, my blood on YouTube. Maybe not the first time that ever happened. I'm just going to fold that over once. Call it good. Get a little and inwards, and let's see if we can slam this thing on there. Trick is just really getting it all started. I think once you get the weird bits past the beginning, shouldn't be too bad. Now I'm on the pipe on this end. Twisting it certainly helps grind it in there. Isn't it amazing how much blood? Like I'm giving my blood for this muffler. Friggin' amazing. Stupid little pinprick. Those are the ones that bleed, huh? Crazy. All's well. Hack a week Band-Aid. We're good. Okay, back to this. I gotta get this up in the vise so I can hang on to this and twist it a little. Put it on there the rest of the way. This is that moment when I go, you know, I sure hope all this sweat and toil and everything is going to be worth it. But if not, you know what? It's always a learning process. You need to get a better grip on this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pretty much there. Let me get the rest with a razor blade. I think it'll be just way better. Yeah, there we go. That's what I want. I want it all out of the way. Don't want it in my weld joint. That's my main concern. There we go. That's better. Time to tack the cone in place. Here we go. There's the fit I wanted. Just enough to keep it from moving around in there. Now we gotta get this cap on and then we're ready to load it up and fire it up. And bearing in mind that I may put the super trap on there, I'm thought about that ahead of time, believe it or not, and leave enough pipe on there that we can do that with. This is like building a rocket ship. It doesn't have an engine. Well, the engine is the bike. Wow, that's pretty awesome. It's ready for liftoff. It's going to drop in there nicely. Now we need to weld the piece for the super trap in there. And then I'll be ready to fully mount it up and go for a test drive. I cut 2 slots in the tailpipe here so that I can drop in the anchor, this guy, for the super trap stud. As soon as I get these 2 pieces out of the way, then I can figure out just how far to cut that down, because it's a little bit wide. So I'll just slice a little bit off from it. I'm going to try to get this as centered as I can. That looks good. Weld it up. Okay, that's it. It's done. Get it on the bike. Let's get it on the bike. 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 And slide this in there and think ahead a little bit here on the. Yeah, that's the way I want this, because this stud, when it goes in, catches like that, and that way it sits there, makes it easier to load the discs on. It's pretty good. I almost don't need a set screw in there. To get that back out, I'm probably going to have to hook up a slide hammer to it to take it out. I have one of those at work. How about we fire it off and see just how much it quiets down before I put the super trap on. I got to put the super trap on to tune it. You know, I don't want to just leave it loud by default. I actually want to tune it back where it was, but I also
think it's going to be a lot quieter overall, but let's just see how much quieter that makes it, or louder for that matter. You know, that's pretty quiet. On its own, that's not so bad. It's pretty quiet. Cool. So by the time the Super Trap gets on there, it's going to tune for what I already rode out and drove around with and seemed pretty good. And hopefully that 5,000 RPM weird resonance goes away. Oh, but I went too far. It's alright. See what happens. You know, being my luck, I drilled right into one of the holes, one of the spot weld holes. The screw won't do a thing. Whatever. We'll see what happens with it. Super Trap, got the stud here. Drop that in, put the stack of discs on. Got a washer somewhere, here we go. And the crush nut. So I'm going to tighten that down. Pretty solid. Okay, let's fire this off. See what it sounds like. Pretty quiet. Really quiet. I mean, you know, there's a compressor on the audio on my camera. If you can hear me talking, that's pretty quiet. But it's really high flow. Awesomeness. Wow, feels pretty good. That 5,000 RPM weird resonance is still a tiny bit there, but you know what? I gained a whole bunch in the mid-range. Between like 5 and 7 now in 5th and 6th gear, it really pulls hard. When you roll it on, it's got a real good grunt to it, a lot better than it did before. It rolls all the way up to 10 grand just fine. Sounds fine, it's not that loud. It's loud, but it's not obnoxious loud. It doesn't hurt your ears, you know? And I've got a lot of high flow going through there now, a big old pipe straight through, and it's good. I like it. I kind of wish I had horsepower performance before and after, but whatever. What counts is what I got now, and I love it. So next week is the 4th of July. Not sure what I'm going to do between now and then, but it'll be short and sweet because I'm going to take a little vacation time during that time
But I'm picking up the rods for the CB750 this week. Yeah. So they're aluminum rods, come with the bearings and all that. We'll see how that goes. So a couple weeks from now, back on the CB750, we'll be seeing if we can get that engine put together. So anyway, see you next week. Till next time. This is a printed out and mounted to piece. Boy, that was a mouthful there. A printed out and mounted to piece.
Sometimes I don't make no sense.
These are alien beings. I did these circles. Yeah.